Alright guys, welcome to another video, and in this particular video we will be looking at DAX. Okay, what is DAX? Data analysis expression. It's a very powerful language by Microsoft, and it is used for creating more complex calculation with our data. Okay, so we can do powerful things with it. I'll keep everything simple, precise, and basic, right? Just the important ones, the core things you should know about DAX. So let's start by saying, basically, just know that DAX is used to calculate. Consider them like Excel functions, right? But they are more than just Excel functions in this context. Okay. So if we take a look quickly at our data, I'll just go to the table view. Wait for that to load up our data. All right, this is what we have. We removed some columns already, and that's why we have only this left. Now, we have two major forms of DAX. The first one is column. The second one is measure. So we can create a calculated column in quotes, and we can create a measure. Okay, measure most times, or measure as scalar. That means you want a single value, a summarized value. For example, sum of sales, sum of profit, sum of quantity, and the rest. Okay, even though they can be used with other column, just keep in mind that they are they are scalar, just a single summarized value. That is what a measure is. And the second one, which is a calculated column, is where you create new column from existing ones, just like a regular feature engineering. So I want to create a new column. For example, we want to create age group column. That will be a calculated column. That cannot be a measure. So make that distinction now, or have that clear distinction now, that measure is a scalar value, just one single summarized value. It's just like average of numbers, right? Average of numbers counts. So it gives you a single value. For calculated column, it is a row by row thing. It happens on a row level. Okay, it happens on a row level. That means, for example, if we create a calculated column and we say, and let's say we're using if statement, that if age is below 25, we want to call them young. So if you check every row, is this below 25? No. Is this below 25? Yes. Then we'll see young here. Is this below 25? No. Is this below 25? Yes. Then we'll see young. So that is how it goes. Each row, one after the other. So that is how the calculated column works. So having made this distinction, let's proceed to basic columns. Let's proceed to basic DAX. So let's see what we can get started using with DAX. Of course, we're not just going to learn DAX because we need to know it. We'll look at, okay, how do we have some questions in mind, and then maybe some business questions in mind, and want to get answers to them, but the answers are not readily available, or the columns to use are not readily available in our data. Because it's possible that you can get business questions where you need to get answers, but those columns, those fields that you can use, are not readily available in your data. For example, we want to get quarterly analysis. If we look at our, say, sales table, for example, we have individual days. We don't have Q1, Q2, Q3 readily available in this data. So what do? We need to create a new column, even though we don't have a direct column to use, but the existing ones can generate a new one for us to use. Okay, so in that case, we can do what? Now we can go ahead and create new columns. All right, so let's start with the same question I started with. I mentioned the age. The management or the marketing manager wants to see which particular age group buys more from us. And for the marketing manager, he or she only wants three specific age group, which is young, middle age, then senior citizens. Senior citizens are like 16 above. Okay, you just want young, middle age, and senior citizens. So young now, in the case, according to the criteria given, will be 25 below. Middle age will be there. You can argue with that. It's arguable. Will be 26 to 60 out to 59, and then the last one will be what? 60 to whichever age we have. So we want to create that column, but we don't have it readily available. Remember that creating the column is not the question we want to answer, but the fact that which demographics, which one do we have as our customers who buy more from us, so that we can know who to target, so that we can know where to push to. Okay, all right. So how do we do that? We have quite a number of functions to use. Okay, and we can use our regular. So let's start from the known into the unknown, right? We can use our regular if statement. Okay, we can use our regular if statement. And how do we get started? Very simple. You see, since we have clicked on this, we can just come here and click on new column. Okay, or we can right click on this and then click on new column. You can see it's just the same thing, but make sure you click on the table where you want to create the column. Okay, so if I click on new column now, just wait for that. All right, it's loading. I think it's just taking a while. Working on it. Okay, now we have this new blank column created, and of course the formula bar will be activated for us to now start typing. Now you can see that the formula bar has been activated. Okay, the formula bar has been activated for us to start typing. The first thing is that I want to clear it all. Now, unlike Excel where we can type in a column name, we can only write the formula. We would have given it a column name first before we start typing the formula. Okay, but in this case we can give it a column name first and then we type in the formula as well. So we can just say the column name will be age group, and then we'll say it will be equal to, okay, let your focus be here, it will be equal to, what do I want to say? And I can say if. So let's expand this. You can see we can actually expand this, and this is way too much. It's okay. So to go to the next line, if you ever want to, use your shift enter. Okay, then we can say if, and as usual, just the way it is in Excel, you're saying what? If logical test, result if true, result if false. But in Excel we say value if true, value if false, right? So it's just that way. But in this case, can this sustain us? We want to see young, middle age, and old. It probably can't, except we use a nested if. Okay, so let's try it, but let's start with something. So we say if age, so we can just type age, and by default it shows the table where it's coming from. Even though we're in that table currently, it still wraps the table around it, so there's no need to go through the stress of maybe removing the table name and all of that. So if customer age is greater, that's if it's greater or equal to 25, we want to say young, right? We want to write young, else it should be what? Old. Let's just start with that first. From the known to the unknown, something simple first. Old. Okay. And then I'll hit enter. If there's an error in my formula, it will flag it before proceeding. So this will change. This part now will change to age group. Currently is on what? Is column. Now it has changed to age group, and if we take it up, let it just finish what it's doing. We'll collapse the formula bar. Alright. It's done. I'll collapse it and pay attention to the icon. You can see it has FX, so it's showing you that this is a calculated. Okay, now you can see if you look at it, it's a row by row, right? Columns are row by row operation. So you check this person, oh, this is old, oh, check this one, this is young, check this one, this is old, young, and all the way like that. You can see it. So that's how we did for all the customers. But this is probably not what we want. We want to edit our formula to be able to capture let's zoom in, all right, so I can see it better. So we want to edit the formula to be able to capture middle age, and as usual, this is if it only takes 3 arguments, right? It only takes 3 arguments. So what do? We use a nested if. So now say if again, if age is greater or equal to right, or if age is less or equal to 59, then this will be what? Middle age. Middle aged, and then say old, or let's just say senior citizens. All right, senior citizen, and this is what we have. And of course, yes, we have to close our bracket twice as usual from the if statement, and then we'll click OK. If there's a formula error, to flag it right away. So we're waiting for it. You just wait. It's working on it. Let's give it a little time. It doesn't take long. Working on it. So that way, if you look at our syntax, as usual, we can now break it into lines to make it cleaner, the way we used to do it, right? So we can break it into multiple lines. All of this can be on a straight line. They can be on a straight line, no doubt. But for readability, we always ensure to do what? To break it into multiple lines. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Saying if this, all right, then young, then if this, then middle age, else senior citizen. All right, so this seems more readable, and the last brackets can come like this, so I know this is the opening, major one opening it and closing it like that. So if you look at this, you can see we already have everything correctly, and that means we can now go back and answer the question. So depending on what the question is, it is 2 different questions. It is something different entirely if the marketing manager wants to see who buys more from us, or where do we have more customers from. They are 2 different things, right? So let's just look at, oh, do we have more middle age? Do we have more younger customers? Do we have more older customers? And how can we do that? Since we've created a new column now, we can go to the this particular place, and maybe probably let's just take out let's just take this guy out and then bring in a chart. And now I can now use the age group. You can see it's now available. So I'll check the box, it jumps in. The next thing for me to do is what? Grab customer name or customer ID and drop it here, because if I don't, it's a qualitative data, it jumps into legend itself. All right, mentioned all of that at the point of chart creation, and you can see that we have more middle-aged customer followed by senior citizen. We barely have young customers. All right, so middle age, we have them most, of course, based on the age range that we have. They are 490, we have 181 senior citizen, and we have 122 was that 122 young customers. Okay, that's 25 below. All right. Is this the only way we can do it? No, we can also use switch, and switch is very powerful as well. So I'll be showing you how to do this with switch. So I'll just create a new column. I won't tamper with this. I'll use a new column entirely to create this. Let's just come out of that. Okay. So want to create a new column now. So we'll click on the customer table. Earlier we picked it from here, right? Earlier we picked it from the top. We clicked on new column, but this time let's just right click and click on new column. So it's working. So we'll say this is age group. Just change the name slightly. I added an underscore to this, and in this case we'll be using what? Switch expression puts true. Okay, then we now start doing what we want to do. Okay, we'll say if. Now why do we put expression true? Because in this case we are handling a more complex calculation. Let me simplify that. We're trying to look at different conditions, and it begins to vary as we go down. Okay, it begins to vary as we go down. So that's our reason true. I'll show you an example so that we can simplify the difference between when we use true and when we don't use true. Okay, so for now let's continue. So we'll say age, no, not age group, age less or equal to 25, then it is what? Young. Okay, young. Age again. So by the way, if you're thinking we do not have ifs in DAX, so you're probably thinking let's just use ifs. Nah, we do not have ifs in DAX, so just have the singular if. That's what we have in DAX. So this is a better version for singular ifs, which is switch. Just makes things better. Okay. I think I missed that. This should be age, and this should be 60. All right. Finally, since the last condition is always true, right, we don't have to explicitly specify. That means if is not the first two we have mentioned, then it should be the last one. Okay, it should be the last one. Then we do senior citizens. All right, so come here and close I can just close my brackets here, and then let's say if it will be the same, they're side by side. Let's wait for that to work. All right, you can see already that we have exactly the same thing as this column. If it's not correct, that means something is wrong with one of the formula we used. All right, that means something is wrong with one of the formula we used. So let's just wait for that to close out, and then we'll continue. So I'll now give you an example of when to the switch with true. Let's just click out so that the formula bar goes away. So we have this, you can see middle age, senior citizen, exactly the same. Spot the difference if you can find a difference, because I think I can find one already. And if you look at this place, so this is why it's important to always confirm this is 60 and this is saying middle age. So that's probably because we use 60 instead of 59. So this should be what? 59. All right, so this is 59. Let's click that and then wait for it. Okay, it's almost done. Okay, good. So this should be exactly the same now. Shouldn't be difference. Where's the 60? All right, Santa Clara. So Santa Clara is now a senior citizen. All right. So everything is perfect. Everything is just the way we want it to be. And yes, we have been able to create new column using different statements. So we can take out one. We do not want the two. There's no point for having the two. So I'll take out the one with the if statement. Okay. I'll take out the one with the if statement. So I'll just come here and do delete from model. Then it's going to go away. And I'll say yes. All right. Okay, we're good. So quickly, just to mention the difference between the true, the when to use true and when not to use true. Now, when do we use true? For example, if we're checking a column for exact match, again, I'll take it slowly. If we're checking a column for exact match, for example, I want to say, let's say we have some columns, corporate, consumer, and home office. So if I say I want to make corporate 0, consumer 1, and home office 2. Okay, so let's just do that so you understand it. New column. When are we going to want to maybe do this at some point? Of course, in some cases when you want to find correlation, you cannot carry out that with a categorical column. So that's something you might want to do. But in this case, we just want to use that to understand the difference between using true and not using true. Because in this case, we want an exact match, but for the true, it is conditional. Okay, it is conditional. It's not an exact match. So what does that mean? In this case, we have dynamic values here, so it has to check that does this fall within a certain range. So in this case, we just say segment coded. So let's say it's something we don't want users to see or to know. We just want to code it that we have segment 1, segment 2, segment 3. We the business owners will know what the segments mean, right? But the people looking at data might not necessarily know. Maybe just want to mask it for any reason. So say segment code, okay, and then we'll say equal to. Again, we'll switch. Now in this case, all we have to put is the column name. We don't put true. We put that column. We say segment. Okay. Then I'll say if it is consumer, if it is consumer, corporate is the first one that we see. Okay. Corporate should be the first one. ON, that's consumer. Yeah. H comes, N comes before H. So for consumer, it should be 1. For corporate, it should be 2. And lastly, for home office, it should be 3. And yeah, I remember what I said that, you said if we're in the last one, we should not specify. So in this case, we want to just try to catch any funny thing that happens. That's why we specified all of this. So in case there's any funny thing, which will be the default, that will be unknown. Okay, just in case there has been an error at some point, we want to be able to catch it. So just say unknown. We don't know that. So let's say let's hit enter. If there's an error, it will show here. All right. So let's say we're working on it now. It says expression that yield variant data type cannot be used to define calculated column. Now the issue here is saying, oh, you used this is a text, but yeah, it's a number. So what do? Let's wrap them in quotes. All right, let's just wrap them in quotes. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So whenever you see errors, do not panic, just relax. It happens, right? It happens. And these are the things you will see, no doubt. So I've always mentioned it over time that you should not be frustrated by error. You should learn to calmly look at it. Don't let it frustrate you. It's not, you're not the first person it will happen to, and you'll not be the last. Okay, consider it, should I use the word normal? It happens. Error happens, right? Applications, that's why for any working application, they work tirelessly to keep it going, so that when issue comes up, they try to catch issues in advance. Sometimes there's some things that you can't catch, and then you just keep going like that. So you keep improving and keep working on it. And uh, as you probably have known, if you're not new to this channel, you'd have seen that I intentionally just leave that flow there, just let it happen naturally, so that you can see that even behind the scene, or with the top guys, or you're looking at, oh, this guy, or you're looking at this guy, you see the top guys that you're considering, and the way you're looking at me as well, you're like, oh bro, this and that. The way you're seeing us, it does not mean that we don't have errors, or we don't face errors. It happens. It is a regular thing. Writing code, we run into error, or sometimes we get stuck. It's a normal thing. So I will not hide that from you intentionally. I'm not hiding it for you, so that you can feel like, okay, if this error can happen, then I mean, well, I can get better as well. So you don't write yourself off like, when they write it, because most times what you see online here is clean, perfect, edited. So when you're doing it and you're making errors and you're feeling stuck, it feels like it's not making sense. It feels like you're not getting it, but that's not true. Okay, so that's not true at all. So in this place, you'll see a natural flow of how it should happen. Errors simulated. Sometimes I mention that this will run into an error. Sometimes I will not mention it. Okay. So, but the most important thing is that you get a good hang of it and you keep improving yourself. And yes, now we have the customer segment. So you can see the difference between the two switches now. This is just on a column. I want an exact match. But in this case, we cannot do that for the age group that we worked with, right? So let me click on the age group. We cannot do that for this particular age group. It will be too long. That means we have to specify for 18, 19, 20, 21, one after the other. So I hope you have a good hang of the difference between using true, right, for conditional statements, or for conditionals, and using not using true, that means using the column directly, for exact match. All right, now that we have a good hang of that, let's consider another question. So let's just click on another column so that that goes up. Before we do that, okay, we have answered, we've checked which one, where we have more customers from, so we have already answered that. So the next one is, let's think of another question to answer. But before we continue, so that you don't feel intimidated with DAX, or you don't feel, oh, okay, how many functions do we have, how far can we go, let's put it in a little bit more context. Why is this important? So that you don't feel it's an endless ocean. Could be, but it has context. For example, when we're looking at Excel functions, we're able to group and categorize them into textual functions, right? Which helps streamline your understand that, okay, we have functions in this particular category. And then we say some are mathematical functions, we say some are logical functions, we say some are this, we say some are that. So in this case, I'll not just tell you offhand reading and telling you this. Let's go to the official Microsoft Power BI page, right, where we have the DAX function. It is online. You can also go back there to improve more, to pick up some functions. You see examples there, you see codes and all of that there. So let's go together to the Microsoft Power BI platform or website. Yeah, so let's work with me. Okay, so here we have, and this is the link, this is the URL, learn.microsoft.com/English United States ENUS/DAX. Okay, and this is where we have it. DAX, data analysis expression. the full reference. It's called documentation. So data analysis expression is a library of functions and operators that can be combined to build formulas and expressions in Power BI, analysis service, Power Pivots in Excel, data models. So you can use it in Excel, you can use it in Power BI as well. Okay, so let's look at the group of functions that we have. We'll not really be going through all of this. We have new DAX functions, but you can see that we have the aggregate functions in group or categories. So I'll just expand this. We'll not explore everything. You can see we have aggregate functions. We have the aggregate function overview. Let me open that in a new tab. Let's just wait for that. Okay, to aggregate function calculate a scalar. Of course, they are scalar because they are. I think I cited this example. I said counts, measures, and all of that. So if I just want to click one and show you that it can give you an example on how to use it. Okay, so you can see if you click on anyone, you can see exactly how to use it. If I click on average X, for example, you see. But of course, if you type this, it's gonna pop up in Power BI anyway. Okay, this will show, as usual, the parameters will appear, and then you can pass in your argument just like that. So you can see, but you have an actual example. If you scroll down, right, when you scroll down, you can see an actual example. So let's look at sum X, which is very powerful and we might be using. It says table for rows. The table containing the rows for which expression will be evaluated. Expressions are evaluated for each row of the table, right? So look at it. So it says this is an example. Just go through it. Just read it. I just want to show you the official page. So let's go back and so we have the aggregate functions, which is count, max, mean, right? It's nothing new that we have not done before, and products, right? So date time function as well. You can see we have the date time function. Then we have filter functions, and of course we'll be looking at the almighty calculate, very important. So you can see a list of them. So you can feel free to explore on your own. Okay, all right, DAX function, this is where we have. So after that, we have the financial function, information function, logical function, maths and trig functions. It's some of the things we have used. You see that it's not so far-fetched from the things we already know. So we have other functions, parent-child function, right? Parent-child function. We have relationship functions, where we can use related, user relationship, cross filter, related table, statistical function as well, table manipulation function. You see, this is giving not so giving. So the SQL vibe, right? So it's not so giving. Text function as well, textual functions. You see concatenate. You have your concatenate, you have your left, your mid, your right, your replace. So typically nothing far-fetched from what we already know. And also we have in time intelligence function. So this is where you can calculate year on year, month on month, year to day, and all those amazing calculations. All right, so these are the categories of functions that we have. We'll just look at a few important ones, right? Just look at a few important ones. You can feel free to explore the rest of the functions. All right, so let's jump back. Oh, okay, this is switching between my tabs. So let me just close this. All right, here we are. So we can always come here to see the. Now for the aggregate function, count, mean, max, we'll not be going through that. You probably can use it. But I'll show you one example and then we'll move on, right? But that will be a measure, okay? That will be a measure because it's scalar. Aggregate functions are scalar. For example, the average age of customers. So I can click on this and create a new measure. Now, one way you can tell there's something wrong with what you want to do is, let me click on new column, for example. Click on the new column. Very soon we'll start moving fast, so we'll just look at important things and then we'll call it a wrap. I want this to be too long, so it's loading. Let's just wait for that to finish. So wait for it to finish. Loading, just taking a while. To me, just almost supposed to take this long. Okay, so here we are, and we can say, and just have it as in this case we want to just look at the average age now. So I'll say avg age. Okay, it's good to maintain a consistent casing. So avg age underscore age, then we have equal to average. Now look at it, I pick age and I close it. Okay, then I'll just like finish or hit enter. Waiting, let it work on it for us. All right, now what can you see? It's, you can see that it typically gave us the same age for all columns, which shows you that you're not supposed to have it as a column. Okay, which shows that you are not supposed to have it as a column. And this will make more sense when you're trying to maybe create a measure and you're using calculated column, and you're trying to create a column and you're using measure. So you start seeing some of these things. You just read the error, be calm, and then you fix it. Okay, so there's nothing too serious about it. Let's just let this just finish up, and then we'll take it out completely and we'll see how to use it. All right, I'll just take this out and then delete it completely. Delete from data model. So what is the proper way of doing it then? So that means we will not be creating a column, we will be creating a measure. So all I want to create is a measure. So when you're watching, you can just like maybe drag this a little bit forward so that all of these do not take much time working on it. Okay, all right, good. That's out of our way. Good. So I'll click on this and then just a new measure. Wait for that as well. It's always working on something. Okay, so we're back. So we can say age, average age. Then we'll say average of the age, customer age. Okay, I didn't close the bracket. All right, and it did close it for me. So this is what we have, average customer age, and you can see that the icon is different. Okay, you can see the icon is different for a measure. So we can go back down, for example, and say we want to see the average age. So something went wrong. Now don't panic when this happens. This particular one has been deleted. It says this field was deleted from the data model and can't be used in this visual. So we have to replace with this new one. Drop it there and take this out. So nothing serious. We still have our numbers and figures back. All right. So what if we want to see them by the region? So this one where we have the customer name by region, though it's on the formatting is on thousands and I don't want that. So let's just go to data labels, values, none. Okay, so keep it that way. So instead of the region by customer, I want to see average age by region. So we can now drop our average age in this place. So we can see the average age of customers from individual region. Of course, this is looking like a lot, and we can, of course, go back here and format that to say 2 decimal place, value, auto, read on 2, and just like that, it's now on 2 decimal place. So we can see 45, others are around 44, 44, 44. There is just slight difference in age. So we created a new measure and we can use it in our visual, no doubt at all. No doubt at all. All right. So I've seen an example of how to use a measure or aggregate functions. We only see that so that we can see how to use aggregate function. So that means you can do sum of sales and then do region by sales. Even though we have that here already. For example, this is sum of sales by region. So why create sum of sales again? We might want to use sum of sales in another function, the one we created. Okay, so when we want to be able to reuse, this is implicitly. It aggregates for us implicitly, but we can explicitly create a measure that calculates the sum of sales for us. Okay, so in that case, that means we probably want to reuse that measure, because it's not just good if you're creating a measure or a calculated column, make sure it's something that it's actually useful or very worthy of it, so that you don't load your Power BI with heavy DAX and then the thing starts to slow down, it's loading, it's taking too long to load and all of that. So you might want to keep that in mind. Okay, so we can now try out for some counts. You can count the number of customers. So just feel free to explore the aggregate functions that we have. So let's say we want to see the discount amount. Okay, the discount amount. Let's go to the sales table. Drag. So we have discounts in percentage, right? If we click on this drop down, we'll find out that it is in percentage. So it's in decimal. We'll probably want to take it to percentage and then carry out our calculation with the sales. We want to see the amounts, the discounted amounts. All right. So we'll scroll all the way to the end, and this will be a calculated column, right? So it will be a calculated column. We'll click on calculated column. Here we have, and we can now say discount price or discount amount, AMT. That will now be what? Our sales. So we can do it mathematically. Okay, we can do it mathematically. That works just fine. Sales times discount, just like that. So we can do it mathematically and that will work just fine. So wait for that. It's going to work on it. If there's an error with our formula, it will show us immediately. So we'll just wait. And this is what we get back in return. And yeah, don't be surprised that you're seeing zeros. You can also see that the discount here is just 0, 0, 0, 0. So one quick way to check is not to scroll. Just go to the drop down. You click on it and then it shows you the list of the unique values. So we have 0.2, 0.2. These are cents anyway. So because it is based on a single sales. So if we scroll all the way down, we have up to 6. We have up to $6 or so. So just cancel that, and I've been able to create that. Now, what if we want the sum of this? What if we wanted this as measure? So that is where we can now start thinking of the iterator function. is the iterator, iterate, yeah, the iterator function, where it can do the side by side calculation and give us a sum, but that will be a measure, right? That will be a measure. So it is possible you can think of what I just say and then you put it into practice. So that will be a measure. So you can get total discount, total discounted amount in one go. Think of it as your sum products in Excel. The way you can have quantity and unit price, and then you want to get a sum of revenue. So if this is unit price, that means how much one is sold, and this is the quantity that is sold. That means this times this is what will give us you the actual revenue. Then you want to get the sum of the actual revenue. In this case, we don't want to create we don't want to go ahead and create more DAX function, or more DAX. We don't want to load our DAX heavily, so we don't want to create a column first, then use a sum from that. We just want to create a measure directly. So it multiplies this and this, then adds it to this times this. So you remember sum products, right? The addition of these two multiplication multiplies this and this plus this and this plus this and this plus this times this plus this times this plus this times this, all the way down like that. Okay, so probably I'll just pin all the Excel functions or leave the link to the description below, so that you can be able to flow well and relate better. If you're still feeling this is very strange, I really advise that you take a look back at Excel functions. It gives you a good foundation and start. Okay, now let's try creating profit margin. So let's say we want to calculate profit margin, and my recommendation would be to create a measure. However, we'll see how to create it as a column first, then we'll now look at how to create it as a measure, so you can also have the idea of the exercise I just gave a few seconds ago. So come here, stay on the sales table, and just click on new column. Like I said, we want to see how it will work first, and the profit margin is basically just profit divided by sales. Okay, profit divided by sales. So say margin profit margin will be, and this is meant to return a percentage value, so we might later format it, right? Not forget. So that will be what? Profit divided by sales. But I will not recommend this. Okay, why? Because this does not undo division error. You know, the div error we see in Excel when trying to divide by 0. So what if this happens? How do we undo it? So in this case, we'll be using a formula called divide, the divide formula. So it says, if you look at the description, it says save divide function with the ability to undo divide by 0 case. So numerator, first one is the numerator, that's our profit. The next one is the denominator, that is our sales. And then if is an error, alternate result, if anything happens, just return 0 to us. So let's hit enter. Just wait for that. And yes, this is what we get. You see, you can see the profit margin on this particular product. Okay, so we can go here and what, format as percentage. All right, so wait for it. We also have the number format right here, and you can see, but we don't want decimal place. We can remove it just like we used to do. So it's waiting. Let's just wait for that to load. So we already have our profit margin now, and you can see how it looks like. Okay, but here's why I recommend it to be a measure. So let's say, for example, I want to see profit margin by region. So I take this out, for example, the sum of sales here, take it out, and then we scroll. Okay, it's doing some working behind the scene. Let's wait for that. Working. We're good. So take this out and we'll look for, and just close this, collapse it, profit margin, drop it here. Now you can see what is going on right here. You see the, because it is already in percentage and it is adding the percentage up in a very messy way, and this does not make sense. This does not make sense. So let's see how we can create a measure instead and preserve how this work. So click on this and click on new measure instead. So for a measure, that means you probably want the sum of it, right? So you should do a full aggregated sum, and then once we put it together with the region, it will automatically split them for each region, right? We don't have to worry about, oh, okay, how does it get the region, how does it get this? It will do that automatically. So let's say profit, okay, profit margin percentage. So I'll do divide again, but in this case we're using what? Sum of profit. Okay, close that. Sum of sales, close that. Then if error, show 0. So wait for that, and just like that we now have that particular profit margin. So let's go back to our view and then take this out, because it's trying to do a sum. You see that by default, oops, we're not calculating any measure right here. Cancel please, thank you. So for this, it did a sum on the percentage and the values do not make sense, but since we created a measure instead, that will automatically split for us, and you can see how nice this is now. It's now showing us that, okay, this is what 15%, 13%, 12%, and 8% profit margin. All we just have to do is what? Format as percentage. Format as percentage. Okay, that's data format under general data format. Click on profits and then we'll click on percentage. So you can see how nice. So this now makes more sense to us, right? Unlike what we were saying before. Just taking time so that you can have a good grasp of it, so that when you want to use it on your own, you won't have any difficulty. So let's take out this guy that we created. Just click on this place and delete from model. Click yes. So it's going away. Just wait for it. It's working. Okay, so let's look at just two more. We'll look at the filter function, the powerful filter function. Then we look at one-time intelligence function, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so just feel free to go back to DAX page, learn.microsoft.com/en-us. Then you see DAX, or you can just type it. I'll leave a link, a direct link to that in the description below. All right, let's just go back here. So do not forget that this affects everything we do, right? This affects everything we do. What if we want to create, you can see everything is affected. What if we want to create, let's say the senior management wants to see the sales, the total sales for a particular segment, regardless of whatever this slicer is doing, it should not affect it. In that case, our slicer is meant to connect to all of this, right? Our slicer is connected to all of this, and we just want to like use it that way. But what can we do instead? We can use the calculate function to say, for example, maybe a particular segment, the consumer segment. So let's go and create sum of sales for consumer segment. All right, sum of sales for consumer segment. In this case, we can do a new measure. Let's do a new measure. Let's wait for that. I'm working on it. Can you work on it a bit faster? So we just put corporate or consumer. Is it corporate or consumer? Let's just stick to one. Consumer profits. Consumer profits. So in that case, since it's a measure, we can use the what? The calculate function. How does the calculate function works? Let's type it. Calculate. As usual, once you pay attention to those details, you will be able to use some of these functions on your own. So it says expression and then the filter. The expression first and then the what? The filter follows. So what is the expression in our case? What is the expression in our case? Do not forget that we want to see, we don't want it to change. Okay, we do not want it to change. So let's scroll so I can see it when it comes. Oops, hold on just a minute. So just enter here and say calculate. We want the sum, undo that. We want the sum of sales or profits. Yeah, the profit is what we're looking at. Sum of profits. That is the expression. Expression is something that evaluates to a result. Then we have sales. Then we want to say where segment equals to consumer. Then we'll close it. So this is a fail-proof function. This is a fail-proof function or a filter-proof. Okay, so regardless of what our slicer is doing, this will stay constant because we will not take time to start looking at what are a million use cases for this. Okay, so once you see how it works, you can then think of it in the context of a problem you want to solve, and then you do it that particular way. Okay, let's just wait for. Okay, so it has created. Let's go back to this place. Let's pick a card. Let's pick a card, and then we'll drop that guy there. So you can see that it's what 13k. So let's filter by consumer. And you can see that we have exact same figure as this, but this is not affected by our filter. Let's click on home office. You can see others change. This is loading, but this is not affected. So you just think of it in the context you want to use it, and then you can go ahead and create things like that. So the filter function, the calculate function, is a very powerful function, one of the common function in DAX as well. Okay, so here is a quick exercise for you. So for you need to show what percentage of the total global sales a specific city or a specific state contributes. Again, you need to show the percentage. You want to see what percentage of total global sales, that means across, that a particular state contributes. A particular state contributes. So think of it. Um, Write your answer. You can just write the expression, what it will look like in the comment section, and I'll check it. Know if you're correct. If you're also correct, okay. So it's not. Do not overthink it. Is as simple as the question says. So that means in simple English, we don't want it to be affected by filters or slicers. All time we want to see how much a particular state contributes to the global sales. Okay. So finally, we have quite a number of functions, and we can stay here, keep doing new things and new things and new things. Now, here's some challenge for you before we look at the final thing. Remember, we created this in Power Query. So I want you to take this out, go back to your Power Query, delete this step carefully, delete this step, delete this as well, and create this create this using DAX. So create this using DAX, the two of them. So the last function we want to consider now is a time intelligence function. We want to consider time. So feel free to explore dates, maths, and all of that. So we want to look at one time intelligence function, and after that we'll wrap this up completely. You can see this is slow and very basic. It's just give you a good foundation. You might want to go over it again, have a good grasp of what DAX can do. It is way powerful. You can do a whole lot more with DAX. So it's important that you have a good foundation and you have a good concept, a good grasp of what it is and what it can do for you, or what it has to offer. And now to what we want to do for a wrap. So we want to see a year over year comparison. I want to say year over year growth comparison. So the scenario is this: you want to evaluate, let's say you want to evaluate if the business is doing better this month compared to the exact same month last year. You want to see if the brand, the company, the business is doing better this month compared to this exact same month last year. Okay, so in that case, we'll probably create two measures, right? First, we fetch last year's sales, then create the year-on-year growth percentage for it. So let's see how we can achieve this together. The first thing to do is to create last year's sales for that particular month. So we'll create a new all right. So then we'll say sales last year, and then we'll do a calculate. Remember, our calculate is very powerful. Then we'll say sum of sales. Now we have the sum of sales, so there's something we need to add so that it can actually grab last year, because we are saying it is a time intelligence function. So we say same period last year. So it looks at the current period, and then for example, let's say May, and then it shifts back to exactly 1 year time as well. So that is what it's doing. So let's say now say same period last year, then we look for the order date. So say sales order date, and then we'll close it. So this will give us the sales for last year. So let's click on this. Of course, we'll still visualize it. Okay, we'll be visualizing it, and that's done. All right, so that's done. The next thing for us to do is now calculate the growth percentage. Now the formula is this, because if you don't understand the formula, the whatever we're writing might not really make sense to you. So for the formula, it is the current sales minus the past sales over the past sales. Okay, so that's just the formula that we will be using for it. So we'll be saying uh, total sales, like current sum of sales now, minus last year's sales divided by last year's sales. So mathematically, if you break that down, mathematically you understand what is going on behind the scene, because the total sales minus the last year's sales, it finds the variance. Okay, if you made, for example, 120k this year and 100k last year, the variance is 20k, right? So the variance is 20k. That means this year 120, last year 100k, so we have 20k, right? Good. So this now divides it, by last year, right? This divides it by last year to get a percentage. That's the increase. What is the increase? Because now that we have 20k, so don't forget we made 100k last year, that will now be 20k over 100k, which is 20% more than last year. Okay, and of course we just use our safety net, yeah, our division error, right, to just catch anything that might want to act funny. So let's go ahead and create that as well. Click on sales, new measure, so call it YOY, that's year on year sales growth. For those who are in the sector, they will probably understand this better, but if you're just a person learning, in that department or sector, you might still feel a little bit off. It might feel a little bit off, but what's important thing is to understand what is going on right here. So let me add percentage to it. So now we have we want to divide. Okay, do not forget the formula again: current sales minus past sales over past sales. So say sum of sales minus sales last year. Now you can see how we are reusing a function or a measure we created already, right? What are we dividing it by? We're dividing it by last year's sales. And just in case anything happens, we put 0 in there. So we hit enter. Let's see what we get back in return. All right. So how do you now view this to know what exactly is going on? So we have to go back to our view. So let's just take this out. I'll take some of these charts out, because for building our dashboard we will be using particular business question to build the dashboard. Okay, but for this one we just want to understand DAX, or we used all of this to understand how to create charts and how to format them. So let's see how to use this. So we'll be using a matrix table. So it is also a visual. We have a table, we have a matrix table. A matrix table gives you row and column view. Okay, a table gives you a row and column view, but a table gives you a row and column view. We'll see how the matrix work. All right, so this is what we have. So we have a matrix table, and we will pick our order dates. So in this case, we just want to be able to see the month. So let's just quickly increase that. Okay, from here, there's row headers. All right, so that is, I think 12 is perfect. Okay, 14 is good. All right, so we don't want quarterly, because it's a month on year on year. For individual months, not necessarily quarterly. We can take it out, we can leave it. So the next thing is to now drop our sum of sales in rows. So let's go back to this place. First of all, once you pick a matrix table, you drop in your order dates inside here. Then you leave the columns blank, just go to values. Then we'll drop total sales. Then we have sales last year. It can take as much as possible. So we have last year's sales and our YOY growth. So Since we don't have any values there, this can only mean one thing, and that is because our dates, usually when we want to do a time intelligence function, we create a dedicated calendar table. Okay, so if we look at, let's go to the table view, and you can see on this view, you can see something we call what mark as date table. So with that calendar table, even if there are inconsistency between our time frames, right, this year, last year, and all of that, we can be able to properly map things out, because you can see that we have a total right there. So we'll not go through all of that. It's a whole, it can take a whole session or a whole video on its own for that. But yes, feel free to practice DAX functions, try things out. You already know the official page, the link will be in the description as well. Practice, start little. Once you get a hang of it, then you can now advance into more higher functions. And yeah, this is where we'll wrap it up for DAX. If you have any specific DAX function in mind that you want me to go through, I might just be able to dedicate maybe a video to that, come up with a data set for you, and then we'll move on from there. All right, and that'll be all for this video.